A growing number of young adults say that they are part of the LGBTQ plus community. That is according to a new global survey by Ipsos. It found that people in Gen Z are twice as likely to identify as non-straight than older generations. Those born in 1997 or later are also 4 times more likely to identify as trans, non-binary, gender fluid, or a designation other than male or female. So for more on this, I want to bring in Drew Armstrong. He's the co-founder of Dragon Dads. It's an online community offering support to fathers of LGBTQ plus kids. Thank you so much for joining, Drew. So as I understand it, I mean, your son came to you at a very, very young age to sort of come out, if you will, for lack of a better phrase. And I want to apologize ahead of time because I'm sure, like many people, I struggle with the correct phrasing and the correct pronouns and all that sort of stuff. So I want to ask you to be patient with me. But can you tell me about Dragon Dads and how the group came into being, why it's important to have?
Sure. My son did come out when he was very young. He was about 3 years old, and he obviously didn't come to me and say, "Hey, Dad, guess what? I'm transgender." He cut off all his hair while he was we were out doing yard work, and he was in our closet in our master bedroom. And I asked him, "Why did you do this?" And he said, "Well, Dad, I want to be a boy." And he obviously didn't have friends' influence or anything, but at that point we were stunned, and we were religious, and we had no idea what we were up against or what we were dealing with. I didn't even think transgender at all. Eventually I thought that I had a lesbian kid, and at that point, you start looking for support and resources, and there really wasn't a lot at that point. He's 19 at this point. So eventually we found some friends through the Pride Center and some different things. And in about 2017, it was probably 7 years ago, we were walking in Pride, and a couple of my buddies, other fathers of LGBT kids, and I said, we need to create a group. And so we've built a group, and we've done quite a few activities together. We meet monthly, and we help dads who are just coming to grips with the fact that they have a LGBT kid, figure out what they're dealing with and how to support these kids, and how to bring our families along to be more supportive to our children.
So within this Facebook group, what issues are parents most concerned about?
Oh, it's everything. The Facebook group, we have about 1,100 dads at this point all across the country, but we have pretty strong presences in the South, in some of the a little bit more conservative faith communities. We've got a lot of dads who are Jewish. We've got a lot of dads who are United Methodist. We've got a lot of dads who are Mormon. And between all of those different groups, we have people who oftentimes need a little bit of extra support where they normally don't receive any from their community. And so we have dads that are coming in, and they're just coming to grips with learning to use proper gender pronouns, and learning to support their kids in all kinds of ways, everything from dealing with legislation and participating with our local pride groups to try to go ahead and get the legislation to where it needs to be and where it's safe for our children to grow up in our current society as far as that goes. So we have dads that come in with all kinds of questions.
Drew, I think it's really interesting that you talked about, the number of people from different religious faiths, and how normally they would sort of lean into their faith for support, but it's more challenging because of the subject matter. I also find it really interesting that this is a group of dads. I think sometimes, women, or at least it's a stereotype, that women are more kind of willing to talk about their feelings with other women, but it's more challenging for men. There's the additional, I suppose, pressure of what a real man is, is versus not a real man in this society. I'm curious as to whether or not you think, the part of what makes this group effective is that it is a guy's group. It's a dad's group. It's not just a parent's group, but the men get to talk privately. And I got to admit, like, I tried to get on the Facebook page and I see it's a closed group, which I understand why it should be. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we've got gay dads, we've got transgender dads, and we've got mostly, obviously, cisgender straight dads. But you do have to be a dad. We have a few grandpas in there, but that's about the only exception that we make, because these guys need a place where they can come and talk about some tough stuff. And they come in and they're pretty open with their feelings about their kids and the struggles that they're working through themselves. We had a dad the other day that came in and he said, I accidentally outed my kid. What do I do? And we've had dads that have said, geez, I'm having a little bit of a struggle with alcohol and it's affecting my family, and how do I deal with this? And they can find support in a way that is a really different. The group is very diverse, because the one thing that we all have in common is having LGBT kids, but there's nothing besides that. We're dads from all kinds of different backgrounds, different ages, and it's a place where dads can come and they can screw up, and it's safe for dads. It's probably not safe for our kids, but it's safe for dads to come and say, look, this is the thing that I'm struggling with. How do I deal with this? How do I deal with a kid that is going through? How do we deal with sleepovers? I've got a teenage kid, and now can I have a same-sex partner or buddy come and sleep over at my house? Is one thing that's come up, and it's kind of fun to see the conversations that come from something as simple as that. So,
Drew, let me ask you about these 13 anti-transgender bills that have been introduced by Republican lawmakers that have already been enacted into law. You are a Republican state delegate in Utah. How do you square that circle?
Well, that is a difficult one. I've spent several days this year providing testimony and meeting with the lawmakers that we have up on the Hill in Utah. And let's face it, these bills are not really about transgender girls participating in sports. They are about whether transgender girls are girls or transgender boys are boys, and this is just the easiest way to go ahead and deal with that. And I suspect that the end game here is getting to the Supreme Court and trying to interfere with that. So we'll see about that. In Utah, we don't have any transgender students that have played in sports that have created any problem anywhere. They actually can't even identify one at all. And so you have to, well, I struggle with wondering what the point is to begin with. But furthermore, in most states, in the states where they can provide examples as to girls' participation, where they have been competitive. Back in 2019, the two girls from Connecticut, I believe, that participated on the track team, they have, in Utah, the Utah High School Athletics Association mirrors the NCAA, and there are tests and things that those kids have to go through if they do want to participate to keep things fair. In Connecticut, they didn't have any rule like that. So in Connecticut, I can sort of see a reason that they would be interested in looking into how do we regulate this. In Utah, it already is regulated, and in most states it is, and it's not a problem anywhere. This isn't really about what they say it's about. So.
Really important information there, Drew. Thank you very much, Drew Armstrong. We appreciate it.
No problem. Glad to be here.
We are glad you are here, too. CBSN is marking Pride Month with special coverage. Topics include everything from the politics of pride to families, education, and health. You can also get our content on demand on the CBS Village page on cbsnews.com.